This video is it's not so much about dancing with death as much as it is in trying to communicate to people the transformative nature of the dance. And to be, I mean, I've had discussions about this many times. And well, there are some people that accept what I say and accept what Randy Posh says and say all the other dancers with death. There are others that just don't buy it, and you know, they're polite and but. And recently I was talking to a good friend of mine about the realization of my dance. And I told him that I had done two dances exactly a decade ago. One was metastasized prostate cancer, and the other one had to do with what is called subdural hematoma, which simply means you cracked your head and your brain is bleeding. And both of those dances I recovered from. Cancer-free. The only problem with hitting my head is hearing aids. But I wouldn't delete either one of those experiences from my life because it changed me. But the problem was that I didn't realize the change as quickly as I thought I would. Especially the one who being in the hospital for nearly 8 weeks, and most of the time I don't remember anything except for the last week and a half. I don't remember the fall, I don't remember going to the hospital. I don't remember being in the hospital except for the last week and a half in a rehab hospital. And I had dinner with somebody in Chicago, and I was talking about teaching, and we were talking, and he said, you know, listen, tell me about yourself. What are you up to? And so I did for the entire dinner. And at the end of the dinner, he was smart enough not to say anything. But he wanted to know whether I'd seen Randy Posh's The Last Lecture, which I hadn't, and he kept on talking. And he just said, I'll send it to you. So he emailed me a link to it. And I got home that night at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't check my emails. The next morning I did, and there it was. And for me, watching that last lecture by Randy Posh, who was dying at the time of pancreatic cancer, he was more alive than anybody in the audience, and there were a couple thousand people there. And then it hit me. And all, you know, I've said this and written about this, all the pieces of my life, the puzzle of my life, started to come together. And it wasn't so much that dancing with death, you started going down this road and then you danced with death and you went down this road. That's not what the dance meant to me. I've always been wound up about civil rights and social movements and political issues. And so if this is me before my dance, this is where I am now. Trust me, and I know that half of you won't, and neither do some of my friends. And this friend said the same thing. He said, well, I don't want to dance with death. And I tried to, dancing with death is a good thing on a number of levels. One is, sometime you're going to die, and dancing with death means that you can lead death on the dance floor and at least get more time here on earth. But it's also, you better hope to have a couple dances with death. If you don't, you'd be dead the first time. So people who don't dance have a reprieve from finally dying, because you're not going to live forever. But dancing with death, I mean, knowing that you're going to die sometime, and knowing it not up here, but in your gut, changes the way you live. And in the article, there are a couple dozen names of people who have done the dance. Famous people, not so famous people, but people who most of you will know most of their names. And it changed who they were. So I was debating with my friend, and I was trying to think, and this is me in my teaching mode. I love it when students question me. I mean, I'm still teaching. I'm 75 years old. I love it when a student says, "Hey, Campbell, I don't buy that." You know, and that gives me an opportunity to rephrase, restate, expand, but more importantly, give an example. So this last discussion I had with somebody was mildly critical of my, I mean, he was very nice about it. He said, I appreciate that you feel that way, but I'm not in that place. And I said, and I told him, I would have said the same thing he said, had I not done the dance. And I was trying to think of something that I thought was true and then realized that it wasn't. I mean, everybody knows they're going to die sometime. I mean, a 5-year-old knows pets and goldfish and grandparents die. And they ultimately know they will die, but it doesn't, it affects them mentally, it doesn't affect them in their gut. So I was trying to think of an example. And it was about 6 or 8 years ago. I'd gone to see my eye doctor. Notice I wear glasses. And he did my eye exam and says, "You need a new script, comma, P.S., but next year you're going to have your cataracts removed." And I didn't get it. With, I needed glasses, but getting my glasses on, I can see. But I trust the guy. And so next year, or that following year, I came back, and the surgeon that does the cataract removal removed one cataract, came back next week, removed the other one. I went back a couple weeks later for post-op observation, and the surgeon said to me, "Have any comments or have any thoughts about what's going on?" And I said, "I can't believe it. I can't believe how bright everything is to me. I mean, on a cloudy day, I was wearing sunglasses. I mean, and on a sunny day, man, it was a very adverse effect. I mean, I was blinded with the light. And even in the nighttime when you're driving and people approach you on the road and cars coming toward you, even though they don't have their high beams on, it is as if they have super high beams, and also there's kind of a halo around the light. Turns out that that's probably one of the most common experiences of people who've had their cataracts removed. I thought I could see fairly well, except for the fact that I just needed glasses. But you remove the foggy tissue across the cataract, across your eye, and it took me, and she said, the surgeon said it's going to take you a year to fully adjust to your eye, to fully adjust to the normal world out there. Even now, I go out, when I take Ginger out and walk around the lake, even on, I mean, I wear sunglasses most of the time. I'm just simply sensitive to bright light. And that's the best way I can explain something. I mean, if you, I mean, depending on your age, if you've had a cataract operation, you know what I'm talking about. And so this was for me a teaching tool to tell my friend that Dancing with Death has great benefit. Everybody knows they're going to croak, but it doesn't change your life. It changed mine, because you know your clock is ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And I know full well that I won't have forever. And I'm not going to waste my time sitting around doing nothing. So I appreciate your watching and listening to this video. And this is a postscript. I'm not criticizing you for having not had an opportunity to dance with death. I didn't have an opportunity until 10 years ago. But at least take this morsel of information. Your clock is also ticking. You know it's ticking, but I know something that you can't fully understand, that it is really ticking. And at least try to approximate change your life in a way that someday you won't have a someday. You know, make sure you, Randy Posh says, make sure you say how appreciative you are to people who have helped you on your journey down the Yellow Brick Road. Do things, help others. Make sure that you use your time here on earth as best you can. And hopefully sometime in the future, you'll have a dance and you'll be successful. And then you'll say, Campbell, you were right. So in the meantime, I appreciate your time watching, listening to this video, and reading this essay. Take care.